This is how big my arms look on leg day. Don't believe me? Here's me doing the leg extension right after recording this. And because my arms stand out so much in everyday clothes, I often get asked how many times I go to the gym in general to build and maintain this physique. And oftentimes when I answer truthfully, people are surprised at my answer because it's one of the biggest misconceptions about the gym that you need to lift weights every single day to build a jacked physique. Most people think that you need to be training every single day with a complex routine to develop a physique that stands out and makes you look amazing in everyday clothes. But honestly, that's far from the truth. Training 6 or 7 days a week only leads to overuse injuries and persistent pains in your joints. That's why your friends probably complain about a pain in their shoulder that never goes away, or they're getting injured constantly because they train too much. The reality is getting jacked requires a lot less time every week than you think, but a lot more effort than you think as well. And that's why in this video, I'm going to clarify and give you the best, simple, bare bones routine that I've used to develop a physique that makes you stand out in everyday clothes while training much less than you thought. And for good reason. But before we get into that, we have to look into the general psychology of why people think that you need to dedicate every single day to the gym and have these complex routines with certain exercises. The simple reason behind this is that the fitness space online is filled with a bunch of noise on what the most optimal or best way to train is, and people will debate on any topic that they can discuss. I'm sure you've seen online that people argue on everything: what split you need, how many reps for each set, and how many sets per workout. And that's just the working out part. Never mind getting your diet in check. And overall, there's too many conflicting messages out there because people just agree with whatever their personal bias is. And this creates even more confusion because people that agree with these different messages leads to more people spreading different messages, and everyone just contradicts each other. But the truth is, there are only a few simple pillars you need to follow to get a jacked physique. And I've learnt it the hard way, spending my first 12 months in the gym, changing up my routines and exercises because I never knew what actually worked due to all the noise online. The first of which is, how often do you actually need to train and for how long? And this is the answer that surprises most people, but I only work out 3 or 4 days a week and for 2 hours every time. See, the truth is, it's not about how many times you go every week. It's about how hard you're pushing in those days where you're working out. Let's say I go to the gym 6 days a week, but on the 4th day, I'm drained from the other 3 workouts I had just done a few days prior. I'm not going to be able to push as hard during the remaining 3 workouts of the week, and it's even worse when your muscles haven't recovered. That's a one-way ticket to getting injured. And while you might not feel very fatigued, these injuries happen slowly over weeks and weeks of overuse. So one day you'll find yourself with an injury that takes you out of the gym, and you'll lose more muscle than you would have gained during those extra days. And even if you don't find yourself getting injured, if you don't feel fatigued, most likely you're not pushing as hard as you can during the first few workouts of the week. And this ties into the fundamental science of how muscle is built through progressive overload, mechanical tension, and forcing your body to adapt to heavy weight. If you haven't heard of progressive overload real quick, it's basically just adding on weight to each exercise every week or two to make sure your muscles are getting stronger. But what I want you to take out of this is to train less, train harder, and use the weights to force your body to adapt to how heavy they are. And training 3 or 4 days a week is a great way to do this because it allows your muscles to rest enough to add more weight onto next week, and to actually progressively overload instead of just spinning your wheels in the gym and doing the same weight for every workout. And if you're worried about organizing a split for your 3-day workouts, you can copy this. You can hit chest and back, legs, and then shoulders and arms. Or if you don't like that, you can do chest and triceps, back and biceps, legs, and shoulders for a 4-day split. And those are the only splits I've used, and I'll die by them. You can chuck in rest days whenever you feel fatigued in between any of these workouts, because in each case, you have the flexibility of having either 4 or 3 rest days, which gives you enough time for your muscles to rest and recover if you time these rest days correctly. Now, the second big thing you need to consider is your diet. And the key to this is understanding what different macros do for you and then incorporating that into the foods you already eat. Carbs give your muscles fuel, proteins are the building blocks for creating new muscle, and fats moderate your hormones. I'm not going to go into detail in this video on each of the chemical and metabolic processes, but each macronutrient is important in its own right, and it's important to understand what they do for you from a health perspective. After you get the gist on how these macronutrients work, the next step is to start analyzing what you eat. I'm not asking you to change what you eat. If you eat your mom's food, go ahead. If you get takeout every day, be my guest. All I'm asking for you is to start investigating what is actually in your food and how it contributes to your overall health. You hear all the time that greens are good for you and fried chicken is bad. The idea of analyzing the foods you already eat is to actually start looking into the macro and micronutrients of these foods, so you can start to develop better eating habits and understand what you need to eat as someone trying to build muscle and get jacked. I advocate for a high protein, high carb, and low fat diet wherever you can. And a good way to get started with this is to take a day where you just Google everything you eat. A food scale would help, but overall, you can just Google things like cooked chicken thighs calories or calories in 3 bananas, and it gives you an idea of how much food you're eating and the nutritional value of these foods. You should be aiming for high carb to push your muscles harder and high protein to build new muscle effectively. In the end, what ties it all together is sleep. Your diet and your training can be on point, but your body won't be able to rest and recover if it doesn't get enough sleep. So I recommend getting at least 8 to 9 hours of sleep every night. Go to bed early so your body can recover and build more muscle. Sleep also affects everything in your life, from your hormone levels to how anxious you feel, and also whether you get hunger cravings during the day. So getting those 9 hours of sleep should be a high priority for you. And the last thing I wanted to quickly mention was, should you bulk or cut? And what I generally say to most people that come to me with that question is to just forget all of that, especially if you're new to the gym. You see, when you're early in your lifting journey, you don't know enough to bulk or cut effectively. So in the end, you'll just be spinning your wheels. It's much better to follow the steps in this video and get a general idea of your training and diet and what's best for you. And then in like 2 or 3 months, when you've mastered the fundamentals of training, of dieting, then you can kind of pivot your direction into either bulking or cutting depending on what your needs are. And just as this video is coming to a close, I want to thank all of you that took the time to watch this video. And I just hope that the information I gave you in this video can help you in your fitness journey, even if it's just a little bit. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.